Part 1. The Clock. The night my wife Eleanor died, the house didn't feel empty. It felt silent, the kind of silence that presses on your chest. For 42 years, that woman woke before me every single morning. She'd grind coffee beans, hum some old song from the 70s, and open the kitchen curtains even when it was raining. I used to pretend I was still asleep just so I could hear it a little longer. And then one morning, there was nothing. No humming, no coffee, no footsteps. Just the ticking. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The old grandfather clock in the hallway. It had belonged to her father. A massive oak clock, taller than me, older than our marriage. Eleanor loved that clock more than any piece of furniture in the house. She polished it every Sunday like it was alive. At the hospital, right before she passed, she squeezed my hand and whispered something strange. "Walter, don't let them take the clock." I thought she was delirious. I smiled and told her to rest. But she tightened her grip, surprisingly strong. "Promise me." So I promised. At the funeral, my son Daniel cried loudly. Too loudly. People kept hugging him, telling him he was so strong. His wife Melissa cried too. But I noticed something. She never once looked at Eleanor's photos. She was looking at the house, not remembering, calculating. 3 days later, they came over. Melissa walked straight into the hallway and stopped in front of the grandfather clock. "Oh, wow," she said softly, running her fingers along the wood. "This must be worth a fortune." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Daniel cleared his throat. "Dad, maintaining a big house alone will be hard. You should think about downsizing. Maybe move closer to us." I nodded politely. "I'm fine here." Melissa smiled, but not kindly. "Well, we can help you. We'll handle the estate things. You shouldn't stress at your age." Then she pointed. "And the clock. We can take it. It'll be safer at our place." My heart started pounding. Eleanor's voice echoed in my head. "Don't let them take the clock." I walked over slowly and placed my hand on the wood. "No," I said quietly. Daniel looked surprised. "Dad, it's just an object." "No," I repeated. "It stays here." Melissa's smile vanished for half a second, just a flicker, but I caught it. Not sadness, annoyance. That's when I knew. They didn't want the clock for memories. They wanted it for something else. And that night, I opened the clock for the first time in 40 years. What I found inside made me realize Eleanor hadn't been protecting the clock. She had been protecting me. If you enjoy emotional family stories with shocking twists, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what I discovered inside that clock changed my son's life forever in Part 2.
Part 2. Inside the clock. I hadn't opened the grandfather clock since the day Eleanor's father delivered it to our house in 1982. He told me something odd back then. "Walter, this clock is reliable, but only if you respect it." I thought he meant maintenance. I was wrong. That night, after Daniel and Melissa left, I stood alone in the hallway. The house creaked softly, and the ticking sounded louder than ever. Tick-tock, tick-tock. My hands trembled as I opened the glass door. I reached inside to wind the pendulum. Something. Eleanor always insisted on doing herself. She never let me touch it. Not once in 42 years. Now I understood why. Behind the pendulum, hidden deep in the wooden panel, I felt something metal. A small latch. My heart skipped. I pressed it. The back panel of the clock shifted open slightly. I froze. Inside wasn't machinery. It was a compartment. A secret one, carefully wrapped in cloth with 3 items. A sealed envelope. A small velvet pouch. A thin leather folder. My throat tightened. Eleanor knew I'd find this. I opened the envelope first. It was addressed in her handwriting. Walter, only open if I'm gone and they ask about the clock. My hands started shaking. I sat on the floor before reading. If you're reading this, then Melissa has already noticed the clock. She always would. I saw the way she looked at valuables, not people. I stopped breathing. Eleanor had known. Your son loves you, but he is weak around her. I didn't want to burden you while I was alive, but the truth must protect you now. I opened the leather folder. Inside were property documents. Not ours. Land deeds. Investment accounts. A trust. My name was listed as primary beneficiary. Value. Far beyond what our house was worth. Then I opened the velvet pouch. A gold key. Attached to a tag with a bank name. A private vault. I felt dizzy. Eleanor hadn't just saved memories inside the clock. She hid an entire inheritance. From me. From Daniel. From Melissa. Then I read the last line of her letter. They believe this house is everything we have. Let them. The clock was my father's insurance. Only someone who loved me would protect it. And only someone greedy would try to take it. Suddenly, everything made sense. Melissa didn't want the clock as furniture. She knew something was inside. And she thought I didn't. Just then, my phone rang. It was Daniel. I answered. His voice sounded strained. Dad, Melissa thinks you should sign some papers tomorrow, just to simplify the estate. I looked at the open clock beside me. They were moving fast. Too fast. I finally understood. They weren't helping me. They were trying to get control before I discovered the truth. I closed the compartment and locked the clock. Sure, I told him calmly. I'll sign tomorrow. But I wasn't going to sign anything. Because tomorrow, I was going to the bank vault first, and whatever Eleanor left inside it was the real reason she made me promise. In part 3, I open the vault and discover why my wife never trusted her own daughter-in-law. Part 3, the vault. I barely slept that night. The clock's ticking echoed through the hallway like a countdown. Not to danger, but to truth. At 7:30 a.m., I put on my old coat, placed the gold key safely inside my pocket, and drove downtown. The bank Eleanor had written on the tag wasn't an ordinary bank. It was a private financial institution, the kind wealthy families used to hide assets for generations. I had passed that building hundreds of times in my life. I never imagined I belonged inside it. The marble floors shined. A receptionist looked up politely. Good morning, sir. How may we assist you? I placed the key and the envelope on the desk. My wife left instructions. The woman read the name written on the envelope. Her entire expression changed. She stood immediately. Mr. Carter, please come with me. I frowned. She already knew my name. I followed her through a secured hallway, 2 locked doors, and finally into a private office. A senior manager was waiting. He shook my hand firmly. Mr. Carter, we've been expecting you. Mrs. Eleanor Carter prepared everything years ago. Years ago. My chest tightened. He opened a drawer and removed a metal case, placing it carefully on the table. Before she passed, your wife visited us several times. She was very clear. This is to be released only to you, and only after her death. He inserted the gold key. The case clicked open. Inside were documents, a lot of them. Property titles, investment accounts, corporate shares. And then I saw the total. I stopped breathing. Eleanor hadn't just left savings. She had left a fortune. The manager spoke gently. Your wife came from a very old family. Her father transferred his estate into a trust. When he realized someone might, one day, try to manipulate you or your son. My hand shook. You mean Melissa? He didn't answer directly, but he didn't need to. Instead, he handed me a video drive. She recorded this message for you. The room suddenly felt very small. He left me alone. I plugged the drive into the office computer. The screen flickered. And then, Eleanor appeared. She was sitting in this very same office, smiling softly. For a moment, I forgot she was gone. Hello, Walter, she said gently. If you're watching this, it means I wasn't wrong. My eyes filled instantly. I watched Melissa for years. She never looked at our home. She looked at ownership. And she always asked Daniel about legal authority, inheritance, and control. My stomach dropped. I never told you about my father's estate because I knew you would share it with Daniel immediately, and Melissa would take over your life. Tears rolled down my face. You are kind, too kind, and kind men are easy to trap. Then she leaned closer to the camera. Her final words froze my blood. Walter, the moment she asks about the clock, she already knows. And she will push Daniel to make you sign everything. Do not sign anything. They are not planning to take care of you. They are planning to remove you. I shut the laptop slowly. Suddenly, yesterday's papers Daniel mentioned made sense. They weren't simplifying the estate. They were trying to control it before I learned the truth. I looked at the manager. Have they contacted you? He nodded. Your daughter-in-law called 2 months ago, asking if your wife had any hidden financial accounts. We refused to confirm anything. So Melissa had been searching long before Eleanor died. This wasn't sudden greed. It was a plan. And I had just walked into its final stage. My phone buzzed again. Daniel. Dad, the lawyer is here. We are waiting for you to sign. I smiled for the first time since Eleanor's funeral. Don't worry, I told him calmly. I'm on my way. But this time, I wasn't going home as a grieving old man. I was going home knowing the truth. And tonight, someone's mask was going to fall. In part 4, I attend the meeting. And the estate papers turn out to be far more dangerous than I expected. Part 4. The papers they wanted me to sign. When I pulled into the driveway, Daniel's car was already there. So was another one, a black sedan I didn't recognize. The curtains in the living room were slightly open. I could see Melissa pacing back and forth, her phone pressed to her ear. The moment she noticed my car, she ended the call. She didn't even wait for me to reach the door. She opened it before I could knock. There you are, she said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The lawyer has been waiting. Not we. The lawyer. Inside, a man in a grey suit stood beside the dining table. My dining table. Eleanor's flowers were still there, barely 2 weeks after her funeral, and now legal papers were spread across it like a business meeting. Daniel looked nervous. Dad, this is just paperwork. It makes things easier for everyone. I hung my coat slowly. Easier how? Melissa stepped forward immediately, answering before Daniel could. You live alone. You're getting older. Managing property taxes, bills, repairs, it's a lot. This simply allows Daniel to help handle finances. I already knew she was lying. I sat down. Let me read it. The lawyer hesitated. Of course, he said, but I saw Melissa shoot him a quick look. I began turning the pages. At first glance, it looked harmless. Power of attorney, asset management, medical authorization. Then I reached page 7. This wasn't assistance. This document transferred complete control of my house, accounts, and decision-making, authority to Daniel permanently, effective immediately after signing. I looked up slowly. Daniel, did you read this? He shifted uncomfortably. Melissa said it was standard. Answer me, I said firmly. No, not really. Melissa jumped in. It is standard. The lawyer explained everything. I turned to the lawyer. Did you? He cleared his throat. I was instructed to prepare the documents as requested. By whom? Silence. Melissa's smile vanished. Why are you making this difficult? We are trying to help you. I leaned back in my chair. Help me, or control me. Daniel frowned. Dad. I slid page 7 across the table toward him. Read that line out loud. He did. And halfway through the paragraph, his face changed color. Full legal and financial authority over Walter Carter's assets, residence, and medical decisions. His voice stopped. Melissa, what is this? Her tone hardened instantly. It's protection. What if something happens to him? Someone has to manage things. I spoke quietly. Something like placing me in a care facility. No one spoke, and that silence told Daniel everything. He stared at her. You said this was temporary paperwork. It is, she snapped, unless he refuses to cooperate. That sentence slipped out before she could stop it. Daniel looked like he'd just been punched. Cooperate with what? Melissa finally lost patience. With reality. Your father can't live alone forever. The house is too valuable to sit wasted. We could sell it, invest it, upgrade our lives, and he'd still be taken care of. There it was. Not concern. Not family. An investment. I folded the papers calmly and pushed them back. I'm not signing. Her eyes turned cold. You don't really have a choice. Daniel blinked. What do you mean? She crossed her arms. Because if he doesn't sign, we'll handle this legally. I looked at her. Legally how? She leaned forward slightly. We can request a competency evaluation. Courts often assign. Guardianship when seniors refuse necessary. Financial assistance. Daniel's face drained. You want to declare my father mentally unfit? She didn't deny it. Instead, she said quietly, it would be safer for everyone. I stood up slowly. You've been planning this. Melissa didn't answer, but she didn't look surprised either. I picked up my coat. Good night. Daniel followed me outside immediately. Dad, I swear I didn't know. I placed a hand on his shoulder. I know. He looked broken. What do we do? For the first time since Eleanor's death, I felt calm, because now I understood. And more importantly, I was ready. Tomorrow, I said softly, we visit the bank together. His brow furrowed. What bank? I smiled slightly. The one your mother trusted. And tomorrow, Melissa was going to realize she had chosen the wrong man to manipulate. In Part 5, Daniel learns the truth about his mother's hidden fortune. And Melissa's reaction is far worse than I expected. Part 5. The truth Daniel never knew. Daniel didn't speak much during the drive the next morning. He kept glancing at me like he was trying to figure out who I really was. For the first time in his life, he wasn't looking at me as just his father, but as someone who had been hiding something. Dad, where are we going? He finally asked again. You'll see. When we reached the private bank downtown, he frowned. This place? Why would Mom ever come here? I parked and handed him the envelope Eleanor left me. Because your mother had secrets not from us. From danger inside, the receptionist greeted us politely. The moment she saw the envelope, her posture straightened. Mr. Carter, we've prepared the meeting room. Daniel looked at me, confused. They know you. I didn't answer. I simply walked with him down the secured hallway. The bank manager greeted us. And this must be your son. Daniel nodded awkwardly. We sat down, and I placed the gold key on the table. The manager unlocked the metal case again. Daniel leaned forward and froze. Documents covered the table. Property deeds, investment accounts, corporate share certificates. He read one statement, then another. Then his voice cracked. Dad, what is this? I spoke gently. Your mother's inheritance. The manager handed him a financial summary. Daniel's hands began shaking. This number. This can't be real. It was. Eleanor hadn't just left us security. She had left generational wealth. I pressed play on the video. Eleanor appeared on the screen again. Daniel's eyes filled instantly. Mom. He listened silently as she explained everything. Melissa's behavior, her fears, and why she hid the fortune. When the video ended, Daniel covered his face. She knew. All this time. I nodded. She was protecting us. Daniel sat quietly for a long time. Then he whispered something I never expected. I failed you. I shook my head. No. You trusted the wrong person. His expression hardened. Melissa wanted you declared incompetent. I nodded once. He stood up. No. I need to go home. Back at the house, Melissa was waiting on the porch, pacing nervously. The moment she saw Daniel's face, she knew something was wrong. What happened? Did he sign? Daniel walked past her without answering, inside. He placed the documents from the bank onto the table. The same table she had spread her paperwork on the day before. She opened the folder. Her eyes widened, then widened again. Her breathing changed. This is real. I watched her carefully. She wasn't shocked about the secret. She was shocked she didn't get it first. Eleanor's estate, I said calmly. The one you've been searching for. Her head snapped toward me. You knew. I replied softly, no, but your actions helped me find it. She froze. For years, he said quietly, you pushed me to control my father. You tried to legally take his rights. You weren't worried about him. You were worried about access. Her voice sharpened. I was protecting our future. You were protecting your lifestyle. Silence filled the room. Daniel took a deep breath. You're leaving. Her face turned pale. What? You heard me. You can't be serious. I am. Her voice rose. After everything I've done for you. He answered calmly. No. After everything you planned to do to him. She turned toward me, desperate. You're letting him destroy our marriage. I looked at her steadily. You destroyed it the moment you tried to take my freedom. She stared at us both. Then something changed in her eyes. Anger. Not sadness. Not regret. Pure anger. You think this is over? She said quietly. And for the first time, I realized Eleanor had feared something deeper than greed. Because Melissa didn't look defeated. She looked dangerous. In Part 6, Melissa makes a move we never expected. And the clock's final secret becomes critical. Part 6, the move we didn't expect. Melissa didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just smiled. And that frightened me more than anything she'd said before. Fine, she said calmly, picking up her purse. If that's how you both want it. Daniel watched her carefully. You'll have divorce papers soon. She walked to the door, then stopped. Without turning around, she spoke quietly. You really should have signed those documents, Walter. A chill ran through my back. Then she left. The house felt strangely silent after the door closed. Daniel exhaled heavily and sat down. It's over, he said. But I didn't feel relief. I felt warning. That night, I couldn't sleep again. Around midnight, I heard a faint sound downstairs. Click. My eyes opened instantly. Someone was inside the house. I grabbed the hallway light and moved slowly toward the stairs. The front door was locked, but the living room light was on, and the grandfather clock's glass door was open. My heart dropped. I stepped closer. The pendulum was still moving, but the back panel was slightly ajar. Someone had tried to open the compartment, looking for this. A voice came from behind me. I turned. Melissa stood in the kitchen doorway. Daniel's spare key hung from her fingers. You changed the locks? I asked quietly. She smirked. I never gave mine back. My pulse raced. You shouldn't be here. She stepped closer to the clock, eyes fixed on it, not me. I know there's more inside. Your wife hid something else. I've known about that clock for years. You broke into my house for money. She laughed softly. You still don't understand. This isn't about furniture. It's about ownership. I moved slightly between her and the clock. Leave. Her expression hardened. No. She pulled out her phone and showed me something. My breath stopped. It was a legal document, a filed petition, guardianship request. My name was on it. You wanted to declare me incompetent, I said. She nodded. The court hearing is in 3 days. With medical testimony, you'll lose control of everything. The house, the accounts, even your decisions. You forged evidence. I hired professionals. I finally understood. The paperwork yesterday wasn't Plan A. It was Plan B. This was Plan C. She pointed at the clock. Give me what's inside and I withdraw it. I looked at her. You were never family. Her jaw tightened. I was practical. Before I could respond, the front door opened. Daniel rushed in. Melissa, what are you doing here? She didn't even flinch. Saving your future. Daniel saw the open clock and the documents on her phone. His face went pale. You filed against my father. For us. He shook his head slowly. No, this is for you. Then he said something that changed everything. I already spoke to a lawyer this morning. Melissa's smile faded. What? He stepped beside me. You won't get a single dollar. And after tonight, you won't even get near this house again. For the first time, she looked nervous. But then she said quietly, You're too late. My stomach tightened. Why? I asked. Her eyes moved to the clock, because I already copied the document hidden inside it. My blood ran cold, but there was only one problem. She didn't know the truth yet, because the clock didn't hold the most important secret. The key did. And tomorrow, we were going back to the bank again. In Part 7, the final inheritance is revealed, and Melissa realizes she targeted the wrong family. Part 7, the final secret. The next morning, Daniel and I returned to the bank. Neither of us spoke during the drive. Melissa's words kept repeating in my head. I already copied the document. But she had misunderstood something important. Eleanor never relied on paper alone. Inside the private office, the bank manager was already waiting. This time, a second person was there, a legal officer. The manager looked serious. Mr. Carter, after last night's phone call from your daughter-in-law, we took precautions. Daniel frowned. She called here. Yes. She demanded access, claiming she had proof the estate legally belonged to your son's household. I exhaled slowly. So she showed you the document? The manager nodded. She showed a partial deed copy, but she didn't know what it actually meant. He placed another file on the table. This is why your wife created multiple protections. He slid the folder toward Daniel. Daniel opened it, then froze. Dad, my name isn't here. I already knew, because Eleanor had explained it in her video, but I hadn't told Daniel yet. I spoke gently. The inheritance was never meant for individuals. He looked at me, confused. What do you mean? The legal officer answered, Your mother created an irrevocable trust foundation. Daniel blinked. A trust? For who? For your father's lifetime care, the officer said, and after him. A charitable housing program your mother funded years ago. Daniel stared at me. All of it. I nodded. Eleanor didn't just protect the money. She protected our peace. The officer continued. Even if someone forced Mr. Carter to sign papers, the assets cannot be transferred, sold, or seized. They legally belong to the foundation, not the family. At that moment, everything became clear. Melissa never had a chance. The clock wasn't hiding money. It was hiding proof. Proof that I wasn't wealthy. I was only the guardian. Just then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Melissa's voice. You went back to the bank, didn't you? Yes. A pause. Then she spoke slowly. The lawyer just called me. I said nothing. Her voice cracked for the first time. The assets can't be touched. No, I replied calmly. They never could. Silence filled the line. Then anger faded into defeat. You planned this. I shook my head. No, Eleanor did. Another long silence. Then she whispered, I lost everything. I answered quietly, No, you lost what you tried to take. She hung up. Daniel sat beside me, still processing. Mom knew I might marry someone like this. I placed a hand on his shoulder. She didn't doubt you. She protected you. We drove home together. For the first time since her funeral, the house felt peaceful again. I wound the grandfather clock once more. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Not a countdown anymore. A memory. Daniel stood beside me. I'm sorry, Dad. You learned, I replied. And Melissa. I looked at Eleanor's photograph above the fireplace. Greed always reveals itself. Your mother just gave it time. That evening, I sat alone in my chair and reread her letter. I finally understood her last sentence. Wealth isn't what we leave to family. It's the wisdom we leave inside them. The clock kept ticking. And this time, it didn't sound lonely. The end.